Hello everyone, this is Bludborn again. I want to cover today a couple things that have been asked more recently of me, and that is what software do I use for broadcasting and what settings do I use in that software. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I use XSplit. I've used it for several months now. I've been pretty happy with it. I've also used OBS a little bit, kind of as a backup. But I had a paid license of XSplit, so I continue to use it. So we're going to go ahead and get into the settings here. There's two areas that we want to talk about. There's general settings for the software, and then there's actually broadcast settings. So first we're going to take a look at the general settings. To do that, we're going to click on Tools in the upper menu, and we're going to click on General Settings. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through these step by step. My recommendation, and again, this is just my setup, how I use it. You may find something that works better for you, and that's great, but this is just how I have it set up. So I have Disable Arrow Theme. That's all the translucent menus and things like that in Windows. I have that disabled because it's extra graphics processing that is unnecessarily taken away. Enable Game Source is the ability to take the game source information directly out of the DirectX reading from your card. So that's actually less of a hit on your system performance and it's better quality. I copy a link to the broadcast in my clipboard. That way I can very easily post it to social media and get it out there that I'm going live. And then the optimized scene transition, it just tries to smooth out transitioning between scenes. It's nothing special, must have, anything like that. Audio preview is actually part of the commercial license, so I do not have that. System sound, I use the default. Everything goes through my headphones. I don't do any sound coming out of my speakers on the desktop, so I just leave it as the default. And the same thing with the microphone. I leave it as the default, which is my Shure SM57. I do not have an audio delay set on this because it actually pairs up pretty well. And I don't use the noise gating at all or the silence detection. It might be something you want to do if you have a lot of background noise, but for me personally, I don't need to use it. You could use this to silence some keystrokes too if you have a louder keyboard, but it's something I don't really... It doesn't bother me, so I kind of leave it alone. Hotkeys, I only really use two. Let me find them here. There we are. So I have one to toggle the mic. So if I very quickly need to mute myself in the stream, I can hit F11. And then to actually start and stop my broadcast on my personal channel is Shift F12. I don't want to accidentally hit that button, so I actually put a modifier key on it. And there's a lot of other things that you could do here, not stuff that I've actually found that I would use that much. Okay, your accounts, you can actually directly do a lot of social media stuff through XSplit, but again, I actually let Twitch do all that. It's a lot easier for me to do the notifications and stuff like that, so I leave all of this turned off. But if you're using other services, it may be beneficial for you to use these. And then under advanced, this is something that they specifically say, use caution in here. These are advanced features and they are not held responsible for for any kittens that may be harmed from tinkering around in here. So I've looked into these. I really have no need for them. So those are our general settings. Now we're going to take a peek at the actual broadcast settings. Now, first thing you'll notice here is that I actually have a couple of different things already pre-populated here. I have my personal Twitch channel. I have a YouTube live channel that I barely ever use. And then I also have the official Lotro stream channel because I broadcast from there on Tuesdays and Fridays. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at my personal one. And notice my hotkey is displayed there. So we could do that. I could easily see which channel is which hotkey. So we're going to click on the gear that's to the right of my stream. And this is going to bring up my broadcast settings. Okay. Now, Twitch and XSplit recommend that you use the web authentication. What this will do is instead of using a stream key, it'll actually have you put in your account name, and then this button right here where it says deauthorize currently will actually be authorize. Now when you click on that, it will actually open up a separate window with the Twitch login. You go ahead and log in and it'll authenticate and you're good to go. Now this next part is very important. Selecting your server. Selecting your server can actually be done automatically for you, or you can select it. So if you have a good experience on a broadcasting server and it's, has really high uptime, low latency, and you just want to always use that one, you can. You can select this drop down and you'll actually see the average pings of it and the jitter. So you can actually pick whatever the best server is right now. So what always tends to work best for me is Ashburn, Virginia. So I kind of leave it on there. If I have problems with that server, I'll switch it to automatic and just let it pick one. You can also tell it to confirm ingest server before broadcasting. What this will do is when you actually click on your stream to go live, it'll actually scan through the available servers, and it will, when you pick the best one, it'll let you see that, you know what, this one's a little bit better, or, this one's perfect. So I leave that off. The Ashburn one works very well for me, so I've learned to just trust that one and go with it. Next, we're going to get into the video encoding. Now, this can cause problems for you if you're too high or too low on this area. Now, to use Twitch, they prefer that you use X264 encoding. The bitrate here is solely going to impact, or is impacted by, your network connection. So I have 5 megabits up, and I could broadcast at 3500 bitrate, but it would not be stable for everybody. I would be able to broadcast at a higher quality, but not everybody would be able to view it. So I'm usually around the 2000 mark. Sometimes, depending on the network and how it's performing, I might have to drop it down to as far as 1600. And I top out at about 2300. But most of the time I'm at 2000, 2100, just so I don't have to mess with it at all. We do want to have CBR on. That's continuous bitrate. And we'll actually click on this little gear here, and that's going to bring up the, there we go, the extra parameters. So one thing that you want to do, especially if you're using Twitch, is to use or apply a strict CBR. That's just saying, I need it to be at this bitrate and stay there. The other thing that Twitch does require is a max keyframe interval of 2 seconds. Okay, so you can easily set that. The next one on here is important as well, because this is actually how much CPU processing power your computer is going to take to do this broadcast. Most people will use very fast. That's the default. It's very, they even say on XSplit, recommended for most users. So if you use super fast, that's really if you have a really old CPU or it's just not very powerful. And if you go all the way down to slow, it says don't try without a monster CPU. So we're talking about, current Gen i7s, that are liquid cooled and all that good stuff. So you can mess around with these, but if you've watched my broadcasts in the past, the quality is pretty good, and I just leave it on very fast. Variable bitrate buffer is going to match your bitrate, especially if you're using CBR. Audio I leave alone. I use AAC, 128 bitrate, and 44.1 kilohertz stereo, and that seems to do pretty well. I also automatically save a recording to my hard drive. I do this because, if I am feeling lazy and I don't want to immediately go back and do a highlight or review my broadcasts on Twitch and they expire, I'll still have a copy of it. So if you've got an extra hard drive in your computer, it's not a bad idea to do that. They're not huge. Well, when you do a several hour broadcast, the files are pretty huge, but that's all right. And then also interleave audio and video into one RTMP channel. That's the default, and I leave it alone. Okay, so that is pretty much how I do my setup here as far as the settings. Again, I'll go into other videos that talk about the scenes and sources and things like that and transitions. But like I said, I just wanted to really cover the settings for you on how my XSplit is set up. So if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Make sure you like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you don't like it, and we will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.